In this segment, we'll show you how to install the spike discs. First, make sure you are wearing protective gloves during assembly of the spike discs to protect your hands. As you get started, make sure the rear of the tray faces you. There is a long end of the axle and a short end. Place the long end of the axle into the hole at the top of the other end plate on the left. Then locate the middle hole in the axle. Look at the axle and see if there is one blind hole or two. If there are two blind holes, then use the hole that is aligned with the end holes. If there is only one hole, then that is the hole you're looking for. Fit that middle hole in the axle down onto the tab on the axle support bracket. Now begin assembling the parts in the following order to slide them onto the short end of the axle and work each part to the middle. Note that with the rear of the tray facing you, when the spike discs are assembled, the spikes that are closest to you should be angling down. The short end of the axle will be on your right and the long end will be on your left. It is important that all of the spike discs are in the correct orientation. Then pivot the end of the plate on the right of the tray down, out of the way. First place a flat washer, part H, a short spacer, part N, a disc hub, part L with the small end going on first, and then one of the spike discs onto the axle. Make certain that the spike disc is going in the correct direction as shown. Next, place in sequence a long spacer, part M, a disc hub, and a spike disc in that order. Repeat this sequence 3 more times with a long spacer, disc hub, and spike disc. Last, place 2 short spacers, then another disc hub, another spike disc, and a short spacer on the end. Now secure the end of the axle by pivoting the right end plate up and inserting the end of the axle into the hole on the end plate. Next, go to the other side of the axle and pivot the left end plate down out of the way of the axle. You will assemble onto the long end of the axle the following parts in this order. First, a flat washer, and then 2 short spacers. Next, a disc hub, but note that this one disc hub will go in the reverse direction onto the axle, with the narrow part going first, then continue with a spike disc and a long spacer. Then a spike disc hub, with the disc hubs now going on with the wide end first, long spacer, and short spacer. Then a spike disc hub, and just a long spacer. Then a spike disc hub, long spacer, and short spacer. Then a spike disc hub, long spacer, and short spacer again. And last, a spike disc hub, and just a short spacer. Then pivot the end plate back up so the end of the axle fits into the hole in the end plate to secure it. Now assemble a flat washer, part H, onto one end of the axle. You should use as many flat washers as necessary to make sure that you eliminate any gaps between the parts on that end of the axle. The parts on the axle should fit together snugly. When you have enough washers on the end of the axle, secure them with a cotter pin, part K. Repeat this process with the flat washers on the other end of the axle to make sure to eliminate any gaps.